All right, Shalom. Let me get straight into this lesson, but I was going to do this lesson a few days ago. Right, if you want to hide something from a ninja, put it in a book. So this is figure of speech you Jakes heard, growing up. And I would say this, it is some truth to that, right? If you, because our people don't read, they don't get into, they don't even, they get in, try to say they get into the scriptures, right? But they don't know, they actually don't get any deeper. They just look at the surface a lot of times when they say they're trying to be so-called deep, right? So what you have to understand, the Bible is a vast amount of understanding, wisdom, and knowledge, right? And the Bible is not no joke, right? You have to really be studious to understand these. Some things can be very complex, hard to be understood, right? Pursuant to the book of 2 Peter 3 and 16. But a lot of stuff, a lot of confusion that's on you Jakes can be cleared up through study, through reading, right? Reading and understanding and knowledge is the fundamentals of life. And that's something that our people haven't been privy to, right? Because they've been in this matrix that they thought that getting the bag or, building up their 401k, right? Or trying to get a home, that was way more important. Without knowledge and wisdom, you're destroyed. You'll destroy people, right? And Jake, will jump over a book to get a fake fiat $100 bill note, right? And this complacency and this ignorance, right, ties into our people's ignorance and a lack of knowledge and a very little understanding of things. A lot of these Jakes don't even know the essentials of this world, right? They don't know how to eat correctly, right? But a lot of Jakes don't even really know how to read all the way. They don't know how to comprehend. So if you can't read, you can't comprehend, right? Now, if you can't comprehend, you can never understand what the Bible is really talking about. And that's how these devils were able to enslave our people and keep them under control for long as they did, because they kept them ignorant, illiterate, right? So with all this technology and everybody got, I say this often, everybody got a smartphone, but everybody dumb, right? And you got all these people getting into all this confusion on the internet. You Jakes all over the place, but you don't want to have no business with the truth, right? The truth, you're allergic to it because it's too simple in some cases. Some of you Jakes will say the truth is boring. How can you be bored when there's so much to learn? You're not in the right spirit. This is not no goddamn trip at to Walt Disney World. No. Hosea 4 and 6, it says, my people are destroyed. And you Jakes don't even know who you is. You still calling yourself a crayon color. The other tribes calling themselves Jamaican. They calling themselves Puerto Rican or rich port. They calling themselves Dominican, Brazilian. Folly, right? And when you try to correct them, they don't have no interest. It's like they like being in this state of being spiritually dead. It says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Why are they destroyed? It's emphasized for the lack of knowledge. Knowledge is everything, not so-called money, not what you've been taught in this system. Is knowledge, right? They say knowledge is power, and they not lying. It says, because thou hast rejected knowledge. So when we bring the truth out, people way, they reject it in most cases, right? They think it's something that's not tangible to them. They can't flip it and make $1 million off of it, so they look at it as no value, right? Fool on them. Go to show you how foolish and stupid our people really is. It says, I will also reject thee. So the Most High got something for your cunning little mind, your silly little mind that most of our people have, because it's based and laced in folly. A ninja will put a LeBron James game over watching a lesson, right? That thou should be no priest to me. That's why you got these little ninjas creating chaos in these streets, destroying their own community, thriving to be drug dealers, thriving to be twerk queens, thriving to kill their own community, sell drugs, be like rappers. You know what I'm saying? Death, destruction, and wickedness. You got these women that's off the chain, no respect, no humbleness, right? It's all about them, me, right? And they ain't bringing nothing to the table in a lot of cases. Just been a bunch of baggage in a fucking mouth. Thou should be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of Yahweh, and I will also forget thy children. right? So let's go here. So you Jakes, most of you Jakes just live in this oblivious state of mind, right? When you're not aware of all this history, right? All these things that's been done to literally destroy you. Jake don't got no interest in that, right? So I'm gonna read some of this article. I'm not gonna get too deep with it. Right here, the very top. It says, my growing appreciation for reading started when one day I heard the quote, if you want to hide something from a ninja, a so-called black person, put it in a book, right? So why is it said this way? Because it's common knowledge that Jake typically don't read, right? And that leads to them being destroyed and lack of knowledge. If you don't have an education, you don't know the fundamentals of life, you don't have knowledge, you're destroyed, right? That means somebody can easily influence and indoctrinate you because your mind is very vulnerable, right? Because you don't have the truth to defend yourself from these lies. It says, I was extremely confused by what the quote meant, so I asked what was being implied. The man simply said, so-called black folks don't read. And if that ain't the truth, because when I used to heavily go to Barnes and Nobles and get books and be in there read, I would typically see Edomites in there reading. I see a few Jake women here and there, but they're not reading anything of substance. They reading 50 Shades of Grey or some folly, some fictional thing that's not going to benefit them in life, typically, right? They're not reading about the rich history of our culture. They're not reading what happened back in the biblical times. They're not reading about what words mean, how this got to point A to point B. They don't have no interest in that. They've been molded through this reality that's called the Matrix. It says I was extremely confused by what the quote meant, so I asked what was being implied. The man simply said, so-called black folks don't read. In my head, I was thinking, well, what is that supposed to mean? But now I know. Ever heard of the phrase ignorance is bliss? Yes, well, in this case it is not, especially for so-called black people. So let's redirect your thinking from what is it important to read to why it is important for so-called blacks, Hispanic, and Native Americans people to read specifically. The emphasis is Salakia. The emphasis and need for so-called black people to read is deeper than we think. Let's do a little recap on our history, shall we? Those that oppose us not only bank on the ignorance of so-called blacks, Hispanic, and Native Americans, but they take advantage of it. So that's how you've been able to be indoctrinated with Christianity and all these other different genres of religious indoctrination because you don't know better. And you people get mad at us because we tell you the truth, right? Because why are you bucking up against this? Because you don't know better, right? It's like a dog that's, near death and the owner trying to feed it, but the dog pushed the plate away. Fool on the dog. It says an educated so-called black person is scary, and it is to these devils. And we're not black people, right? We Hebrew Israelites. To your typical racist so-called white person who strongly believe in so-called white superiority. And that's a real thing. It says, let me ask this question though. Are you truly superior if you had a head start? No, you're not, right? Let me bring to your attention the Alabama Slave Code of 1833. And it's one of many things they have done to destroy us. A set of laws that restricted and controlled the lives of the enslaved. These laws controls things like travel, marriage, education, and employment. It says the Alabama Slave Code of 1833 specifically controlled the slave's liberty of reading. In the code, the following was written: any person who shall attempt to teach any free person of color or a slave to spell, read, or write shall, upon conviction thereof, be indictment. It says by fine in a sum of not less than $250, no more than $500. The weaponization of literacy used against the enslaved was a power move to keep so-called black people behind. They feared if so-called black people learn how to read and write, they can figure out how to get free. And that's why, we got this generation of lost individuals, right? Right. So let me finish this up. It says, which makes so-called black people choosing not to read not only a disadvantage to us, but a disservice to those who have died for something as powerful as knowledge, right? I learned this. I learned, and I mustn't set myself back by choosing to be ignorant, because it is not bliss. So-called black complacency is the key to white supremacy. So that's how they're able to dominate you, lie to you, gas you up, you know, and all these things you've been taught because of ignorance. What is ignorance? Lack of knowledge or information. That's ignorance. And now people live in this utopia of ignorance right here. The state of fact of being ignorant, lack of knowledge, learning. So we get some scoffers that come against us because they really ignorant, but they don't know it. That's how retarded they is in their mind, right? They think they know something they really don't know. And a lot of these jakes are just comfortable in their own captivity. I did a lesson on that a long time ago. Complacency, right? Let's go down. It says feeling of quiet pleasure or security. It says often while unaware of some potential danger. So the world is coming to the end, and Jake is, more worried about the NFL playoffs, right? They more worried about, this Mike Tyson match, right? But our people at rest, right? They don't understand the sense of urgency that we're in right now. And I can go on and on, but I'm gonna call a lesson. I think this gonna cut off on me. Hopefully this lesson was edifying. Call Hala Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua Bahashim Rachat Quadash. Shalom.